Alrighty, folks, you know I'm feeling great on a Monday morning because we're now 4-0 in our last four chairman package picks on my premium page. And the good news is I have another chairman play going off here this evening. And if you sign up for my full access, all-inclusive chairman package, you're going to get access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to my Chairman podcast absolutely free. It's going to be included with your purchase. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on the free videos and what I do on my premium page. Well, what I do here on the free videos is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. What I do on my premium page is, well, I actually share with you which one of these free plays I actually like the best. I'm 2-0 my last two extra daily picks, 2-0 my last couple of NBA tier membership plays, and finally, folks, once again, I'm 4-0 my last four chairman package picks. And the good news is I have plays going off in all of those packages here today. That's patreon.com/BrockPage. And with that, folks, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to start off with the Cavaliers taking on the Magic, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Orlando's the 1.5-point favorite, totals 227. Now, I'll tell you, the Magic's been playing some really good basketball here recently. They're 8-2 straight up in their last 10, 10-2 straight up on their home court. And when it comes to defensive play, well, Orlando's been tough to score against in the Amway Center. They're allowing just 109 points a night in their own building, and they've also been dominant underneath the basket. Orlando is currently the best defensive rebounding team at home in the Eastern Conference. Goga Batazzi grabs 6 boards a night and leads the roster in blocks. Meanwhile, Paolo Banchero, he snags nearly 7 rebounds a night himself. He also leads the roster in scoring. Now they're facing a Cleveland squad on the other side who's definitely not built for a track meet offensively. These guys are a bottom 10 point producing team. Meanwhile, late in games, the Cavs are having all kinds of problems getting on the scoreboard. They're currently in the bottom 5 in fourth quarter scoring. Now, injury-wise, Jerome, Mobley, and LeVert, they're all sitting out for Cleveland. Jalen Suggs is questionable for Orlando. Wendell Carter's out. When it comes to the total, plenty of overs for the Magic here recently. They're 8-2 to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Cavs have seen 60% of their road games for the entire season get over the total themselves. Give me the Magic -1.5 over 227. Next game, Pacers, Pistons, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Indiana's -7.5, totals 247 and a hook. And if there's one thing you need to know about the Pacers, these guys have little problems getting to the basket. It's full throttle, pedal to the metal. These guys are always scoring points. They're averaging a league best 128 points a game. And no real surprise here, folks. Indiana's making nearly 51% of their attempts from the field as a team. That's obviously a league best as well. Tyrese Halliburton, he drills over 44% of his three-pointers, and he leads the lineup in scoring. Meanwhile, Miles Turner, he's averaging nearly 18 points a game himself. They're facing a Detroit squad on the other side of things who they haven't won a ball game in quite some time. It's been weeks, literally. And simply put, the Pistons just aren't built for a track meet themselves. They're in the bottom 3 in points per game. Now, injury-wise, Jalen Duren, he is out. Marvin Bagley's doubtful. Meanwhile, for Indy on the other side, Nesmith is questionable. Jalen Smith is inactive. When it comes to the total, the Pacers are 7-2 to the over in their road trips. Meanwhile, Detroit saw 4 out of their last 6 divisional contests get over the total themselves. Give me the Pacers -7.5 over 247 and a hook. All right, next ball game, Heat, Hornets, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Miami's the 4-point favorite away from home, totals 222. And I'll tell you, as bad as Miami's been recently, I do think they can get the job done in this spot here. They're playing some incredibly tough defense away from home. Miami's allowing fewer points a game on the road than any other team in the East. And they're facing a Charlotte team who does tend to start off slowly. These guys are a bottom 3-point producing team in the first quarter. And if that ain't bad enough, well, their defense has actually been worse than that, especially late in games. The Hornets allow more fourth quarter points a game than any other roster in the league. So really, it doesn't matter what that score is going into the final frame. That back door is always open. Now, injury-wise, Ntilikina, Martin, and Ball obviously still out. Williams and Smith are doubtful. Meanwhile, for the Heat on the other side, Hero and Adebayo are inactive for them. That's why you're seeing such a short number for Miami on the road here. Now, the Heat's 8-5 to the under in their contest away from home. Meanwhile, Charlotte saw unders more recently against the likes of the Bulls, Knicks, and Wizards. Give me Miami -4, under 222. Next contest, Wizards, Sixers, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Philadelphia's -11.5, totals 244. And even though the Sixers would typically be able to take care of business here, well, they could be in trouble with the potential absence of Joel Embiid. He's officially listed as questionable with a knee injury. And even though there's really not a whole lot of holes when it comes to Philadelphia, they do tend to start off slow defensively. They're in the bottom 5 in the East in first quarter points allowed. And they're facing a Washington team who's got little issue getting on the scoreboard. This is a top 10 point producing team in the NBA. And if you think Philly's going to outshoot them, just keep in mind, Washington's a top 3 field goal making team. Kyle Kuzma leads the roster in points. Jordan Poole's averaging 17 points a game himself. When it comes to the injury list, Shamet and Rollins are out for Washington. Daniel Gafford's day-to-day. Meanwhile, for Philadelphia, once again, Joel Embiid's questionable with a knee injury. When it comes to the total, I do still think this one should get over the total despite the injury report. Philly's got some scores behind Embiid, and they have seen 8 out of their last 11 at the Wells Fargo Center get over the number. As a matter of fact, the Sixers are currently 15-6 to the over for the entire season. Meanwhile, Washington saw 62% of their road games get over the total themselves. Give me the Wizards, plus 11.5, over 244. Next game should be a good one. Nuggets, Hawks, 7:30 p.m. East. Denver is the 3-point favorite. Totals 241.5. And as short as this number is, you still got to consider the fact that Denver is not a great covering team. They failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10. And out of 13 total road games this year, the Nuggets covered the point spread only 3 times. And believe it or not, Denver's biggest issue on the road has been their offensive production. They're in the bottom 5 in the West in road scoring. They're also dead last in the entire NBA in shooting from the stripe away from home. Definitely struggling at the foul line. Now they're facing an Atlanta team on the other side who does rebound quite well defensively at home. And despite their recent struggles, this is still a dangerous shooting team on offense. The Hawks are in the top 3 in the NBA in home point production. Trae Young leads the lineup in scoring. DeJounte Murray scores 20 points a game himself. And he's drilling nearly 40% of his three-pointers. Now, injury-wise, DeAndre Hunter's questionable for Atlanta. Jamal Murray questionable for Denver. The Nuggets are 9-4 to the under in their travels. Well, excuse me. Choking on my own spit. Meanwhile, Atlanta on the other side, they saw unders recently against the likes of the Nets, Cavs, and Celtics. Give me Atlanta +3, under 241.5. Next game, Raptors, Knicks, 7:30 p.m. East. New York's -4, totals 221. And I'll tell you what, if there's one thing you need to know about New York, it's their defensive effort. These guys are tough to score against. They're actually in the top 3 in defensive scoring. They also grab more defensive boards a game than any other lineup except for one. Julius Randle snags double-digit boards a game, second in the lineup in scoring. Meanwhile, RJ Barrett averages nearly 20 points a night himself. Now they're facing a Raptors team who's on a 3-game skid, and that includes a 13-point loss to New York a week and a half ago. And of course, as a team, the Raptors do play their worst on the road. They've got a .300 win percentage in their travels. Dead last in the Eastern Conference in free throw shooting away from home. Now, injury-wise, Koloko and Porter are out for the Raptors. Mitchell Robinson scratched for the Knicks. Now, keep an eye on Jalen Brunson as well. Currently battling an ankle sprain, although he hasn't been scratched yet. He's officially questionable. Now, total-wise, we have seen a bunch of overs recently with New York. Their last 4 straight got over the total. 8-2 to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Toronto went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. Give me the Knicks -4 over 221. Next matchup, little divisional game here. Bulls-Bucks, 8 o'clock East. Milwaukee's laying a dozen points at home here. Totals 233. And even though Milwaukee is the well-deserved double-digit favorite, well, I'm just not sure they're playing good enough on defense to get the job done here. They've allowed 120 points or more in their last 5 straight. When it comes to covering the point spread, well, the Bucks haven't been great in the Fiserv. Milwaukee's covering in just 33% of their home games. And as lackluster as Chicago has started out, well, they've been red hot since the end of November. The Bulls are on a 4-game winning streak, and they covered the number in all 4 of those victories. Now, when it comes to point production, it's DeMar DeRozan who leads the lineup in points per game. Nikola Vucevic, he's also grabbing double-digit rebounds for the Bulls as well. Now, injury-wise, Levine's still out. Caruso's questionable. Meanwhile, for the Bucks, Pat Connaughton, he's been scratched. Chris Livingston's questionable. Chicago's 7-2 to the over in their last 9. 6 out of Milwaukee's last 9 got over the line themselves. Give me the Bulls +12 over 233. Next ball game, Mavs, Grizzlies, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Dallas is -1.5 away from home, totals 226. Now, the Mavs are playing some pretty good basketball on the road this year. They've got a winning record in their travels, and they covered the point spread in 64% of those games. I realize this is a super short number, but you certainly want to think about that. And no real shock here. It's been Dallas's offensive production that's really helped them out on the road this year. They're a top 5 point producing team in the West away from home. And of course, Luka Doncic, he averages more points a game than any other player in the Western Conference right now. And the Mavs, they're also getting solid point production off the bench. Tim Hardaway's averaging 17 points a night himself. Now, they're facing a Memphis club who lost 6 out of their last 9. And they continue to struggle in the FedEx Forum. As a matter of fact, the Grizzlies lost every single home game this year except for 1. When it comes to the injury report, LaRavia and Smart are still out for the Grizzlies. Kleba, Williams, and Irving inactive for Dallas. 8 out of the Mavs' last 11 road games got over the total. They're also 15-6 to the over for the entire year. Give the Mavericks -1.5 over 226. Next contest, T-Wolves, Pelicans, 8 o'clock East. New Orleans is 3.5, totals 222 and a hook. And despite being favored by 3.5 here, the Pels did take the loss in 4 out of their last 7. And a big reason why we're seeing them favored is that injury to Anthony Edwards. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But as far as the Pelicans are concerned, I do think they're going to get bodied underneath the basket here today. They're a bottom 10 rebounding team at home. Meanwhile, Minnesota on the other side, they're actually grabbing more defensive boards on the road than any other team in the NBA except for 1. And even though Minnesota's leading scorer, Anthony Edwards, is listed as questionable, it's been Minnesota's defensive play that's gotten these guys the W this year. They're allowing fewer points a game than any other team in the league. And no real shock here, folks. They're limiting their competition to a league-low 42% shooting from the field. Short story long, you just can't score on these guys. They pretty much contest almost everything. Now, once again, injury-wise, leading scorer Anthony Edwards, He is questionable for Minnesota. Keep an eye on him. Meanwhile, McLaughlin and McDaniels, they actually could return to the lineup here today for Minnesota. They've been on the injury report for quite some time. Now, for New Orleans on the other side, Matt Ryan's been scratched for them. The Pels went 7-3 to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, Minnesota saw unders recently against the likes of San Antonio, Utah, and OKC. Give me the T-Wolves plus 3.5, under 222 and a hook. Next contest, Spurs, Rockets, 8 o'clock East. Houston's 8.5, totals 226. And even though we've just talked about Minnesota's defensive presence, well, I'll tell you, Houston's been really tough to score on themselves. The Rockets allowed just 106 points a night. That's second best in the NBA, only to Minnesota, as I just mentioned. And what they do lead the league in right now is field goals allowed per game. They're giving up a league low 38 field goals per contest. That is better than Minnesota, surprisingly. And when it comes to grabbing rebounds, well, San Antonio on the other side, they have not been great at that. The Spurs are toward the bottom of the barrel in the West in rebounds per game. And of course, out of 21 total contests this year, San Antonio's gotten the W only 3 times. Their opponents are making just about 40% of their three-pointers against them. Terrible at guarding the three ball. Now, injury-wise, the Rockets may have to go to work without weirdo Dylan Brooks. He's questionable with the sniffles. Tari Eason is also questionable as well. When it comes to the total, Houston's last 3 straight fell under the total. 80% to the under this year in the Toyota Center. Give me Houston minus 8.5, under 226. Next contest, Jazz Thunder, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Oklahoma City's the 13-point favorite, totals 233.5. And even though I do hate this number here, I think OKC should be able to cover in this spot. They played some pretty good basketball over the past handful of weeks. They're 7-3 straight up in their last 10. And they covered in 70% of those ball games. Now, when it comes to offensive production, these guys have had little problems getting to the basket in the Paycom Center. OKC's 5th in the league in home scoring, and a lot of that is thanks to top scorer Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He averages 30.5 points a night, and he's making 54% of his field goals. Now, Isaiah Joe's been dangerous with the long ball himself. He's drilling over 44% of his attempts from downtown. Now, they're taking on a Jazz team who hasn't played great recently. They dropped 4 out of their last 5. And, they just can't get the W away from Salt Lake City. Utah's a dismal 1-10 straight up in their travels this year. When it comes to the injury list, more bad news for Utah. Both Markkanen and Kessler are both ruled out. Meanwhile, for OKC, they're mostly healthy except for Lou Dort. He is currently day-to-day with an ankle. Now, total-wise, Oklahoma City's 64% to the over in their own arena. They also went 7-3 to the over in their last 10 ball games at any location. Give me OKC minus 13, over 233.5. Next ball game, Nets, Kings, 10 o'clock East. Sacramento's 4.5, total 235. And even though this is a pretty short number, you still got to consider the fact that Sacramento struggled covering the point spread recently. They failed to cover in 5 out of their last 8. And they've got a losing record against the number in the Golden One Center. And similar to years past, the Kings just aren't playing good enough defensively. They're allowing over 120 points a night in their own building. And unfortunately for them, they're going up against the best three-point shooting team in the game. Brooklyn currently leads the NBA in offensive three-point percentage. And even the rare times that the Nets miss their shot, well, they just get it right back. Brooklyn leads the NBA in offensive boards per game. Dorian Finney-Smith, he averages a handful of rebounds per night. He's also drilling 45% of his three balls. Meanwhile, Cam Thomas and Mikal Bridges, they're scoring over 23 points a night, respectively. Now, injury-wise, Dennis Smith is out for Brooklyn. Lonnie Walker's still inactive with that hammy. Meanwhile, for Sacramento on the other side, Monk and Jones are questionable for them. 5 out of the Kings' last 6 contests did get over the total. They're also 7-2 to the over in the Golden One Center this year. Give me the Nets plus 4.5 over 235. And with that, folks, we are going to jump into our next and final breakdown for the video. Going to be in that Blazers-Clippers game, 10:30 p.m. East. The LA Clippers are minus 13 at home, totals 220. And as good as the Clips have been, well, they're just not explosive enough to cover this massive number. They've got a losing record against the point spread when facing an in-conference opponent this year. When it comes to offensive production, LA, they really just don't score a bunch in their own building. They're a bottom 5 point producing team at home in the West. And they're facing a Portland squad who really tightens it up on D, especially when they travel. They're actually limiting their opponents to a league-low 29% shooting from three-land on the road. Meanwhile, late in games, you can't score against Portland. You can't score against these guys. The Blazers are in the top 3 in fourth quarter points allowed. One of the better second-half defensive teams in the entire NBA. Now, injury-wise, Ayton and Brogdon are day-to-day, probably why you're seeing such a high number here. And, of course, Jeremy Grant, he did not travel with the team. Now, Clippers on the other side, Diabate's out with a hip injury. When it comes to the total, LA's seen all of their home games this year stay under the number except for one. They're officially 15-6 the under at any location. Give me Portland plus 13, keeping that one close, under 220. And with that, folks, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Give me the Magic minus 1.5 over 227. Pacers minus 7.5 over 247 and a hook. Miami Heat minus 4 under 222. I'm 4-0 my last 4 chairman package picks on my premium page. And the good news is I have another chairman play going off here today. The link for my site is in my bio. Wizards plus 11.5 over 244. Hawks plus 3 under 241.5. Knicks minus 4 over 221. Chicago plus 12 over 233. Mavericks minus 1.5 over 226. Timberwolves plus 3.5 under 222 and a hook. Rockets minus 8.5 under 226. Thunder minus 13 over 233.5. Brooklyn Nets plus 4.5 over 235. With my next and final free pick for the video, give me Portland plus 13 under 220. And with that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium page. If you do end up getting a membership here today on patreon.com/BrockPage, just a friendly reminder, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships absolutely free. They're going to be included with your purchase. That's why I always tell folks that Chairman Package, it's a full access, all-inclusive membership. It gives you access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. As an added bonus, you also get access to my Chairman podcast absolutely free. It's included with your purchase. But most importantly, guys, gotta thank you for joining me right here on the free video. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, folks, happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium page at patreon.com/BrockPage.